Hey, what up? It's your boy Shady C here. Half awake, just woke up. I was thinking about old pro wrestling memories, so I thought I would make this video. What's weird for me is my earliest memories in pro wrestling are moments. Like, I don't remember before, but I remember moments. Like, for example, I can remember when Macho Man Randy Savage attacked Hulk Hogan on Saturday Night's Main Event, and watching that as it happened. I don't remember watching wrestling before that. That's my first pro wrestling memory. But I remember being pissed at Macho Man. So I would have had to have been watching. Because, you don't just turn TV on and be pissed at something. So I remember being pissed at Macho. So I would have had to have been watching to be invested in the storyline. What else is funny is I remember this, but I don't remember when. I remember renting Wrestlemania 3 on VHS, so I didn't watch it live as it happened. But I remember renting Wrestlemania 3 on VHS from Blockbuster. And I remember not knowing who Ricky Steamboat was. I wasn't watching NWA or anything back then. I remember not knowing who Ricky Steamboat was. And I remember starting the show, hearing Macho get booed, and being surprised he was getting booed. So that had to have been before WrestleMania 5, because, WrestleMania 5, he was already a heel. You wouldn't be shocked. But I can remember watching WrestleMania 3 on VHS and being like, why are they booing him? He's the good guy. Who's that guy? So I remember watching it and cheering for Macho Man, because I'd only known Macho Man as a good guy at that point. So I had to have started watching sometime after WrestleMania 4 and before WrestleMania 5, because I can remember the attack on Hogan. Another memory I remember Ron Simmons winning the World Championship in WCW. And I remember getting excited for it. So I would have had to have been watching. I don't remember watching before. That moment sticks out. But I remember getting excited for it. I remember marking out. I would have marked out had I not known who the guy was, so I had to have been watching. So that's how I'd use my deductive reasoning. But after WrestleMania 5, I can pretty much remember everything. It's just the first moments tend to be hazy. I can remember watching Lex Luger slam on, I almost said Andre. I was thinking about WrestleMania 3. Slam Yokozuna. I remember when the plane, or the helicopter, landed on board the USS Intrepid during the Body Slam Challenge. And before anyone steps out, because King of the Ring had just happened not too long ago, I remember thinking it's going to be Hogan. I watched it back not too long ago, and fans were chanting Hogan as the helicopter was starting to come down. So other people in the crowd must have thought the same thing I did. I remember thinking, it's going to be Hulk, it's going to be Hulk, it's going to be Hulk, it's going to be Hulk. I tell you what, a huge Hulkamaniac back then. What's funny is, as a young kid, I was your typical Mark. I cheered the good guys, booed the bad guys. When a good guy became bad, I usually, I usually went with what Vince wanted, not knowing, of course. What's funny, though, is even after Macho turned bad on Hogan, I seem in my mind to have had like a pecking order. Like, if it was Macho versus Hulk, you always cheer Hulk. You always cheer Hulk. But if it was Macho versus anyone else, cheer Macho. I don't know. He just, after I had the Mega Powers, he still resonated with me. I loved him. The one good guy I never liked, and ironically enough, my sister, who was not even a fan of wrestling, liked, because she was into hair metal and stuff, was the Ultimate Warrior. I don't know why, I just never liked the guy. I wasn't one of those people that was cheering for him. Now, cheer for him depending on who he was fighting. For example, if it was Macho versus Rick Rude, I cheered for Warrior. I mean, not Macho. If it was Rick Rude versus Warrior, I cheered for Warrior. But, like, if it was Ultimate Warrior versus Macho. Regardless of whether or not Macho was a heel, cheer Macho. If it was Ultimate Warrior versus Jake the Snake, regardless if Jake the Snake was heel or face, cheer Jake the Snake. Because my introduction to Jake, again, based on when I started watching wrestling, was him as a good guy. So I always loved Jake. I can remember watching when Jake did the storyline with Warrior and tricked Warrior. I remember still cheering Jake after that. But then when it was Jake versus Macho, I always cheer Macho, even though at that time he was a good guy anyways. I couldn't stand Yokozuna with a blind, bloody passion. As a kid, normal, patriotic dude, I couldn't stand Yokozuna. I remember when it was Yokozuna versus Virgil. Looking back, there's no chance. Virgil didn't have a prayer in that match. But I remember cheering Virgil like crazy. I liked Virgil. I remember cheering Virgil after he turned on DiBiase with Piper there. Huge. I really liked Virgil. I thought they should have done more with him. Well, I mean, looking back, they should have done more. At the time, I thought he was going to become, like, at least Intercontinental Champion. When Hacksaw knocked Yoko down, I went crazy. When Hacksaw knocked down Yoko, I went crazy. I can remember that Royal Rumble. I remember where Macho was able to get Yoko down before anyone else did. It wasn't counted, I guess, in the Rumble, but he got Yoko down. He gets on the top, hits the elbow, goes for the pin, and then Yoko presses him over the top rope. I can remember him going for the pin, and right then me thinking, dude, it's a Royal Rumble. Why are you going for the pin? And yeah, so I was a hardcore mark back then. I remember watching the Royal Rumble when it came down to Shawn Michaels and British Bulldog. I was a huge fan of the British Bulldog back then. So when he knocked Shawn over the top, Shawn holds onto the rope, both feet don't touch the floor. I can remember watching, again, the camera wasn't focused on Shawn at that moment. Bulldog's music hits. Me and my mom both loved Bulldog. We went crazy. And then he knocks him out. Mom was so pissed. She was a huge British Bulldog fan, probably bigger than me. When it was Lex and Hart both went over and touched at the same time, I went crazy for Lex. I loved, he was like the new Hulk Hogan, and that's what Vince wanted. I was listening to Bruce Pritchard's podcast, talking about how the fans didn't really warm up to Luger. I warmed up to him. I liked him. I liked him better than I liked Bret Hart. I really didn't like Bret Hart too much. Again, Bret was in the Warrior category. I cheered or booed him depending on who he was facing. If he was facing Yoko, I cheered Hart, obviously. By the way, another thing, too, a lot of people talk about how horrible WrestleMania 9 was. Again, I was a kid at the time. I loved it. Watched it live on pay-per-view. I remember being pissed when Yoko beat Bret. But then I remember loving it when Hulk came out. And Mr. Fuji gets on the mic. My Yokozuna, issue a challenge. You accept my Yokozuna challenge. I remember freaking out, like in a good way. Like, yes, get in there. Then Hart's motioning for him to go in. I remember watching that and going like, oh my god, yes. And then when Hulk wins, I remember that King of the Ring when it was Hulk versus Yokozuna. I remember thinking, Hulk doesn't lose. That was always the thing. I wonder if kids during the John Cena era had that same thought when John Cena was going into a match. Because he hardly ever lost. So, John doesn't lose. He's not going to lose this match. I wonder if kids in the John Cena era thought that way. I mean, up until WrestleMania 9, you can count on your hands how many times Hulk lost. Like, not even a full handful. So, yeah. I remember thinking going into King of the Ring. Hold on, y'all. I'm right here. still talking. I remember thinking at this point, it's not even a question. Hulk's going to beat Yokozuna. Thought the same thing when it was Hulk versus Warrior. I can remember my sister, who wasn't even a fan, loved Warrior. I remember the day of that WrestleMania. We went out to Burger King because my mom didn't like to drive very far, and we lived right near Burger King. She'd go to Burger King. I remember we were watching it, or we were in the car in the drive-thru, and me and my sister were arguing over who's going to win. Well, Warrior's tough. Warrior wins a lot. Yes, but Hulk doesn't lose. That was always my response during that debate before the match. Hulk doesn't lose. You gotta remember, I didn't see the Saturday Night's Main Event with Hulk and Andre live. I remember seeing clips when watching the WrestleMania 4 VHS and being shocked, thinking, whoa, he beat Hulk? But, yeah, Hulk didn't lose. So I remember going into WrestleMania when it was Hulk versus Warrior, being so confident the Hulk was going to win. And then when Warrior did his gimmick before Hulk missed the leg drop and Hulk kicked out, Hulk hulked up. I remember looking at my sister going, this is it. This is it. This is over. There's no chance Hulk's losing this. Hulk wins when he does this. And Hulk hulked up. Hulk did the big boot. Looked at her. I said, you know what this is? This is over. Hulk went for the leg drop. Missed the leg drop. Warrior got on. 1, 2, 3. Fuck it. Why not be real? I remember crying. Not only that, but I remember crying when Taker beat Hulk. I watched that pay-per-view live, but Mom wouldn't order this Tuesday in Texas. I remember that, because we weren't wealthy. We were not a wealthy family. We had to stretch the dollar bill in order to get the monthly pay-per-views every month. So I remember them advertising this Tuesday in Texas during the Survivor Series. I remember turning to Mom and saying, Mom, we're going to get that, right? No, it's a week after the Survivor Series. I can't afford that. I remember me being so crushed, but he's going to fight The Undertaker and get his title back. But I remember seeing clips of Tuesday in Texas on that week's Saturday Morning Superstars. Being so excited that he would. And then when Jack Tunney held up the title, I remember being so pissed at Tunney. I said, so Tunney, I remember as a kid saying, and I didn't swear back then at all, so Tunney, this is freaking crazy. So Taker can cheat and you have a rematch. Hulk cheats kind of, not really because he's Hulk and he can do that, but Hulk cheats kind of, and you hold up the title, have another rematch. I was so invested, it's crazy. But so was my mom. She was almost as invested as I was. She got just as excited during the pay-per-views. That was like our bonding thing. But me and my mom were inseparable when I was a kid. Anywhere you saw her, you saw me, vice versa. Let me think of other memories. I remember when Ludwig Borg beat Tatanka. I loved Tatanka. See, I loved Lex too, but I remember when Tatanka turned on Lex, like still liking Tatanka. But I loved the Tatanka character. Again, I bought into everything WWE fed me back then, or WWF back then. And Tatanka's undefeated streak, I was loving it. I remember being pissed, very pissed, when Tatanka didn't beat Shawn for the title at WrestleMania. I remember watching that. And again, I was thinking Tatanka's going to win. He's undefeated. Shawn ain't beating him. He's undefeated. It would be interesting to be a kid during the John Cena era, just to see if it was looked at the same as like Hulk was looked at. Because I can remember anytime Hulk had a hard match, saying to everyone, Hulk doesn't lose. He's not going to lose. Hulk wins. That's what he does. I wonder if the kids during the Cena era were saying the same thing. Well, hey, John Cena doesn't lose. That's not what he does. He wins. I wonder. Which, like, even when I hated Cena, I still kind of thought, hey, you know, the kids love him. That's what it is. But I'll tell you what's funny now. Now I miss John Cena. I didn't realize how much we had with him. Now that you got all the little guys running around wrestling. Hell, I miss Roman Reigns. I'll admit it. When he comes back, I'm going to mark out. Because, like, he's a big guy. And I remember watching wrestling, loving the big guys. The only little guy I really, really liked was Macho. And he wasn't like... He still looked big to me as a kid. Because I was small, so... As a kid, I never got to attend wrestling pay-per-views, which sucked, or any wrestling shows live, because we got the monthly pay-per-views. We ordered them. So it was always like that was the thing we did. And on my birthday every year, I would still get little stuff and maybe some action figures. But my big present was always the magazine subscription, the WWF magazine. I remember one year asking Mom, because they had a fan club back then, saying, Mom, can I join the fan club? It's either that or your subscription. I remember going, yeah, well, I want the magazine, so let's keep the magazine. That was always the thing in my house. You got one big thing for Christmas and a bunch of little things. My one big thing was always this, or my birthday was always a subscription. My big thing for Christmas was normally just the action figures. Anytime, like, also when Mom got her income tax check, it was action figures. And also that would usually be a game system, because she got I can't remember the exact amount, but she had a decent chunk for income tax. She was a preschool teacher. Didn't make a lot of money, but that big income tax check, everyone in the house loved income tax check day. That would normally be a new game system and a video game or so. Or if there was no new game system that year, it would be games. That's why I always find it funny these days when you see, like, kids always getting shit from their parents. I didn't always get shit. I got shit on big moments. Birthday, income tax day, Christmas. But not because she didn't want to. Couldn't afford to. We always went to the food banks and the pantries to get groceries and stuff. I remember we went to a place called St. Joan of Arc's. They would give us, like, I think it was 2 bags each week, which was nice. It was good. Man. And what's funny, too, is with all this racism these days, it's crazy. I mean, I grew up in a majority black neighborhood, and Santa Claus, who would visit us every year, was always black, and I never looked at it any differently. I never thought anything of it. So, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to go through some of my pro wrestling memories. Wrestling today is not as good as it was. Plus, I mean, back then, I mean, people of all races were patriotic. People of all colors were patriotic. Duggan was getting cheered in USAs from everyone. Now it's like most wrestling fans hate America. I don't know. But anyways, this was kind of a trip down my life in the pro wrestling alley. Like, subscribe, and share. As y'all know, this Shady C, and I'm always right.